In this video, we're going to be looking at all of verse 1, Philemon 1, in the Greek first, and then we will go back and test ourselves for each phrase. So I've left it separated out by the phrases we're breaking it into in order to memorize it more easily. So let's read through it first of all. Paulos, Desmios, Christou Iesu, kai Timotheos, ho adelphos, Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. Okay, so let's just add in the coloring that we added in. So just a reminder, the blue coloring on the end of Paulos and Desmios and Timotheos, ho and adelphos, that's indicating that those words are nominative, meaning the subject. The orange endings on Christou and Iesu and hemon indicate that that is a genitive word, and all of the light green is indicating that it is in the dative case. So let's read through this one more time. Paulos, Desmios, Christou Iesu, kai Timotheos, ho adelphos, Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. Alright, so you might want to pause it there if you want to just familiarize yourselves a bit more. We are going to go through now and test ourselves. We're going to do it two ways. First of all, we'll look at the English phrase and then try and recall what the Greek is. And then we'll go through and try and see the Greek phrase and try and recall what the English is. So let's have a look at the first phrase, Paul, a prisoner for Christ Jesus. Try and recall the Greek phrase for this. Okay. Paulos Desmios, Christou Iesu. So I'll give you another opportunity. Paul, a prisoner for Christ Jesus. Paulos Desmios, Christou Iesu. Okay, let's look at the second phrase. And Timothy, our brother. Kai Timotheos, ho adelphos. Let's try that one again. And Timothy, our brother. Kai Timotheos, ho adelphos. Okay, let's move on to the third part of the verse. To Philemon, our beloved fellow worker. And this is a little bit harder, a bit longer. Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. If you are trying to recall it from the English, I'd encourage you not to, but if you are trying to recall it from the English, to Philemon is just the Greek word Philemoni. So it's not, there's no Greek word for the word to in there. And also got to remember, hemon comes at the end, not in the middle, whereas it equates to the English word our, as we saw in a previous video. And the last thing is that word kai in the middle of the Greek sentence there does not directly translate as its own individual word into the ESV translation we see here. So let's try that again. I'll read through it and we'll try it again. To Philemon, our beloved fellow worker, translates from Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. Okay, let's try that again. Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the Greek passages. These are taken out of order intentionally. So, Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. What is the ESV translation of that? To Philemon, our beloved fellow worker. Okay, let's do this one again. This is the hardest of the three. Philemoni to agapeto, kai synergo hemon. How does the ESV translate this? To Philemon, our beloved fellow worker. Okay, let's move on to our next phrase. Kai Timotheos ho adelphos. How is that translated in the ESV? And Timothy, our brother. Let's do that one more time. Kai Timotheos ho adelphos. And Timothy, our brother. And lastly, Paulos Desmios Christou Jesu. That translates to Paul, a prisoner for Christ Jesus. Let's try that again. Paulos Desmios Christou Jesu. The ESV has this as Paul, a prisoner for Christ Jesus. Okay, so let's go right back and look at the whole passage again. Sorry, the whole verse again in Greek. Now, I'd encourage you, if possible, to look away from your screen and try and recite it with me. I'm going to read through it a couple of times. Paulos Desmios Christou Jesu kai Timotheos ho adelphos Philemoni to agapeto kai synergo hemon. Let's go through that again. Paulos Desmios Christou Jesu kai Timotheos ho adelphos Philemoni to agapeto kai synergo hemon. Okay, well, hopefully you've been able to recall most of that. If you need any practice, you might want to pause and read through a few times and or go back to the previous videos where we look at each phrase. In the next video, we'll be moving on to verse 2.